We will not copyright or trademark that. We do not have the rights to this at all. Please do not sue us. Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to These Unprecedented Gays, a new podcast starring Paul Smith and Joe Granelli. Follow us at tugayspod on Instagram. New episodes every Friday. We hope you enjoy. Welcome, Tuggers and Tuggettes, to another episode of These Unprecedented Gays. I'm Paul.
And I'm Joe.
Hey, Joe, so how was your week? I haven't seen you in like
two weeks. I know. So last week was Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So also happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope you listened to our episode. It was really fun. I listened to it. But my parents actually drove down for Thanksgiving from the Bay Area.
Right. They were going to do an Airbnb.
Yeah, so they rented a gorgeous beach house in Mission Beach.
Mission Beach.
The one by the roller coaster, Mission Beach?
Yes.
Yeah. And I love my family, but it was a lot. And that's what I'm going to leave it at.
A lot for you to take.
Yes. And I can take a lot. Actually, that's not accurate. Some things, but not other things. But no, it was nice. It was nice to see my family. My little nephew Dominic they grow up so fast. He's almost 2. But I brought my dog over, and so it was like stress to the max because stress to the max. That's my dog's name. But it was like we had a toddler and then a puppy and then family and then COVID and can't leave, and so we're in this house. And I was just like, I'm thankful for my family, but I'm also thankful to be going home to my bed.
And because we had that, we had a little COVID scare within our group.
Yes.
Because somebody at my work had tested positive for COVID. So I'm like, we had to all get tested, and I made sure you guys knew and stuff.
Well, you were quick on it, on letting us know. I was shocked at how long it took you guys to get your results back.
Oh my God.
Because you got tested on a Monday, right?
Yeah, we got tested on a Monday.
They gave you the results on Thursday?
On Thanksgiving. I'm like, it's a Thanksgiving miracle!
I mean, yeah, you gave thanks to that. But it was kind of like, you're like waiting and checking your watch, like, okay, like, can you give me the thing? Did you have to call?
No, they sent it by email.
Okay.
If they called you, that meant you were positive.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you did the one where they had to basically
No, I did the spit one. Yeah, they had one where you continuously spit into a cup till you get to a line.
Okay.
Which is first of all, I don't spit. Second of all, I also they don't let you drink for half an hour to an hour before the test. And
How long were you waiting?
All day. And then the wait in the line to get tested is 2.5 hours. About.
Oh my God.
So I'm trying to get spit out. I'm like,
did you have the sample cup while you were waiting in line?
Well, they gave it to you right when you got to the front. So there was one other car in front of you. But I'm sure that woman who was older than me, I could tell, I was trying to do the same thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Did you both do the spit test?
I did. I don't know what Andy did.
Okay.
He's shaking his head yes.
Because I was going to say, if you guys had to get penetrated by the Q-tip that goes into your brain, I would love to know your experience.
All the way in there.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't want to do that, which is another reason why I don't want COVID. I'm also an endurance athlete, and I don't want my heart to have myocardia. So don't get it, guys.
I think they stick it up there, and then
they keep
forget going. 4th grade math.
No. It's kind of like a lobotomy.
It really is.
Yeah. I didn't watch what's the nurse show? Dr. Nurse. The one with Sarah Paulson.
Oh, Ratchet.
Yes, Nurse Dr. Ratchet Lady.
Okay.
I didn't watch that because I'm no, thank you. But yeah, I'm glad that you didn't have to do that one.
Right.
But Thanksgiving was nice. It was good to see everybody. And then on that Sunday, my parents came down. They drove down Wednesday and they left on Sunday.
Okay.
And that Sunday I was like, I just don't want to do anything with my life. And I'm going to sit and relax for the entire day. And I watched Dash and Lily on Netflix.
Oh my God, that was so good, wasn't it?
It was so cute.
I told you.
I cried multiple times. Yeah. I loved it. It was so cute. If
you haven't seen it yet, viewers. Listeners.
They could be, maybe
they're looking at our picture while
Yeah.
they're listening.
Yeah.
So there are viewers.
Or maybe they're listening to someone reenacting us like a lip sync, and that's a viewing thing.
Oh, but like you also told people where kind of where you live, so maybe they found
Yes.
you and they're watching you through a window.
I mean, yeah, right? You're welcome. Sometimes I'm naked. Pretty sure my neighbors have seen me.
Ew.
But also, like, but who hasn't? When you're in, you know, like sometimes you forget that the kitchen window is open and like,
Forget with air quotes.
yeah. I'm just like, woo, swinging it around. Good morning,
Helicopter.
Baltimore. No, so that was that. I have another thing. So I have a question for you about. No, I'm looking through my notes of what I did because if I don't write it down, I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm that person,
Right.
Right. I know if we talked about the episode where it was like, do you write stuff down or do you like put in your to-do list? I write it down because I'll forget. I have two things though left. So, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I watched a couple episodes and I'm like really into it, even though it's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, you'll probably be like, oh my God, Joe, I can't believe you're just getting to this. But the Casey Musgraves Christmas special.
I love that one.
So I started watching like 4 minutes of it today and I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, you're late. I know. I get it. But better
like,
late than never.
But like, go watch it because it's so good. And there's so many great people in it.
I have it as a reminder tomorrow at 7 to watch the Casey Musgraves Christmas special.
But isn't that why you're watching Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy?
I mean, I can forgo Jeopardy. I'm still really sad about Alex Trebek, so I feel like Jeopardy's not the same anymore. And Wheel of Fortune, meh, it is what it is. But yeah, I have it as a. Oh no, it didn't. Okay, all right, yeah,
It did save. Okay.
Well, I was like, wait, I have to get almond milk and pancake mix. Okay, and watch the Casey Musgraves special. So that was my last couple weeks. What about you? I know that you had a Thanksgiving feast that you guys cooked, right?
Yeah, so we were able to have like Andy's son over, and Nick tested positive too, our producer. So he came over.
He tested positive.
Yeah, I mean, tested negative. He tested positive, so he's here.
Everybody in the room, in the living room studio is like gooped America. They're like, what?
He tested negative. I'm sorry.
It was a positive thing that he tested negative.
Yes,
there we go.
So he came over, and then we had another friend.
You said that so nonchalantly, and it was just like,
Because
what?
it's positive, it's fine.
Come on, COVID.
Come through, COVID.
Oh, it came through.
So yeah, so we had like dinner and stuff like that, and Andy made this amazing pot pie with some.
I saw your
leftovers.
pictures.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was really good.
And you guys did a leftover, what? Like, not quiche, but what did you guys make? A leftover Thanksgiving pie, right?
Yeah, it's a pot pie, so it's like, it was all that, and then he took the stuffing that was left over and put it on top as like the crumble.
Oh my
In a
God.
way, so it was very delicious. I'm still eating it, and it's like...
I'm still eating the leftovers too. My mom got like 45 pounds of turkey for 4 people from Lazy Acres, and I was like, she's like, oh, you could just take it home. And I'm like, how? What? Mom, I'm one person and I have a week to eat this. So I think I had 6 pounds of turkey that I've been eating all. Yeah, it's great. Just been air frying it left and right.
Yay.
I'm turkeyed out.
So, but like, and also, you know, we tried to serve some wine for people. So that brings us to our guest here in the studio. That was a nice segue, wasn't it? I loved it. It was the worst, but that's okay. Because that's how we run
our
around
listeners,
here.
our viewers don't care. They love us for who we are.
I know. So in the studio today, we have Molly Brooks and Billy Nordmeier, who are here, and they are sommeliers here in San Diego, and they also work for different wine and alcohol
things.
Vendors and stuff. Molly, you work for Epic Wines, is that correct?
Yes, Epic Wines and Spirits, yeah.
And then Billy, you work...
I work for Young's Market.
Oh, I love Young's Market.
So
a friend of mine
rivals.
is Huh?
We're rivals.
Oh,
we are bitter rivals.
Ooh, we got a feud going on. It's like a family
it's
feud.
Like West Side Story up in
Never
here.
saw it? Sure. I just know they do the snaps. And they do the like...
Which one is the Sharks and which one's the Jets?
I don't know. I know that when we were practicing for Broadway before it got canceled, but you dropped out. But before we were doing that, I was like, I don't like this version.
Well, Billy's probably Maria.
Wait, Maria?
There's a Maria character. Oh,
Is
girl,
that
watch the movie.
Is that How Do You Solve a Problem like Maria? No,
that's Sound of Music.
Okay.
So,
I'm here. We're good.
So why don't you guys, Molly, why don't you start and tell everybody a little bit about who you are and your background and everything?
After you pour yourself a drink.
Well, I'm going to pour for Billy. He needs a refresher.
Thank you.
My name is Molly Brooks. I've lived in San Diego since I was 6, so I consider myself a San Diegan at heart. And I've been working in the wine and hospitality industry since I could get a job when I was, well, not wine, but I was working in restaurants starting at 16. And then my first job at 18 was a server at a Sammy's Wood-Fired Pizza. Or not when I was 21, actually. So I started serving and learning more about wine and craft beer and all of these things. And that kind of got me rolling on this love for this infinitely interesting beverage and everything that touches it, like spirits and beer. And I am a glutton for certification, so I've taken a lot of tests to get lots of flair to add to my lapel. So I'm a advanced sommelier with the Court of Master Sommeliers and level 3 with the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, and there's a Spanish wine scholar and French wine scholar certification. And I'm also a certified Cicerone, which is like a sommelier for beer. And
I was going to ask, is it just wine or is it you got the whole shebang?
Well, we'll talk about certifications a little later, I think, but the sommelier certifications include everything.
Oh.
And then, so my day job, I work for Epic Wines and Spirits. I sell wine and spirits to restaurant buyers or retailers in the city, not the big chain stores, but small mom and pop shops and things like that. And then I'm also on the board of advisors for SomCon, which is a local conference of wine professionals and wine aficionados. And I teach a couple of classes at SDSU's Business of Wine Certificate program.
Girl, you are busy.
That is
awesome.
I
know.
So we have a certified awesome person here.
Sisters doing it for themselves over here.
Yeah, I didn't know there were so many things. That's awesome.
So speaking of sisters doing it for themselves, what about you, Billy?
I like wine.
They are like the best guests because they brought wine. And so Andy and Nick are very happy about that.
And they're not going to wine.
Never come empty-handed.
Yeah, I've been in San Diego for about 20 years. I'm originally from Hawaii, so as soon as I could get out of the house, I did.
Mahalo.
I went to culinary school. Mahalo also. Gracias. Out of high school, I went to culinary school. I thought I wanted to be a cook. It was either military or that.
Oh, okay.
So that was my first foray into food and beverage. And I just really fell in love with food. And I thought I wanted to cook for the masses, but I really just want to cook for myself, my friends, and my family. So, and the kitchen is not a fun place to be in. It's super hot. It's stressful. You know.
I know, girl.
You know. I know you know it well. So I didn't want to hang back there anymore. You see all the front of the house managers walking around their fancy suits, swirling their wine and talking to guests. I'm like, shit, I want to do that. Like, I want to be that person.
Yeah, you want to be part of that world.
Yeah, hell yeah. So
you're like Ariel.
Yeah.
Was
in
it
a vat of wine.
Thingamajigs.
The forks,
Got plenty. Yeah.
Got plenty of forks. So I started learning more about wine and beverages. It's natural to learn. It's the other side of the coin when after food. Now I don't really separate the two. I'm always thinking of one or the other. I worked in hotels, standalone restaurants, and now as of last year, I moved over to the distributor side of it. So I'm my title with Young's Market is a wine educator. But I just function as a specialist with all of our reps and with all of our customers that we work with, finding them, the right wines for their program and kind of acting like a consultant, if you will, for them. So as far as, certifications and all that fun stuff, I'm also certified with the Court of Master Sommeliers. I'm a certified somm with them. I'm a diploma candidate with the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, French wine scholar, Spanish wine scholar, Italian wine specialist with NASA. Let's see what else. Some mezcal certifications. And a certified specialist of wine, which hopefully I'll turn it out into a certified wine educator, probably first quarter next year or so. So yeah, lots of studying, lots of wine things, and I think it's definitely a passion. It's difficult sometimes, and it's a struggle, and it kicks us in the ass, but it is something that we do because we love it.
And okay, so you keep saying quartermasters. Mm-hmm. So what is that? So for our listeners who don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Court of Master Sommeliers is an independent private organization that gives exams that certify people at different levels, depths of knowledge, I guess you could say. And the exams, there are 4 exams, and I usually say that they're analogous to getting different degrees, right? So the intro level SOM exam is about as much knowledge as you would need for an associate's degree. The certified level, which is the second level, is like having a bachelor's degree. The advanced sommelier certificate is like having a master's degree. And then the master sommelier certificate is basically like having a PhD in wine. And that is also analogous to how much time and level of experience that most people need to pass those certain exams within the industry. And they are probably the most well-recognized certification for people that work in restaurants. And a big portion of that is that they're the main body that includes restaurant service and questions about working in restaurants on their exams. A lot of the other wine certifications are more just about wine knowledge specifically, and the court actually tests people on math for running restaurant programs, on on service on the restaurant floor, and so that's kind of why they're more well recognized on the restaurant side of things, and the restaurant industry, hospitality industry. And then the Wine and Spirits Education Trust is probably the best recognized on the purely wine knowledge viticulture side. And that leads up to the Master of Wine credential. Oh, that's the highest tier there.
Jeez. So would you say, okay, so I'm looking at it like an academic's point of view where it's like 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, right? Did you both take that long to get those certifications? Or were you ahead of the game? Like, because 7 years is a long time.
I don't know. It's hard to quantify it really for me anyway, because it's not something that it's not like entering a school program or a scholastic program where you like, here's your start date, here's the middle, and here's the end. It's not really like that. It's very open-ended based upon like our own, schedules, life, as well as our determination, really. So it's hard to say. I would say I've been studying wine probably since I was in culinary school, which is 1999. So a good amount of time.
Young,
yeah, you weren't even born yet. You're like a twinkle.
Oh my god! Wow, I do look young.
You're a zygote somewhere.
Look at you with the biological technique.
I know, right?
Well, and also, as well, in another way of it being open-ended, there is literally no syllabus for the Court of Master Sommeliers.
Right.
They say, this is the world of wine,
go
learn it, and we're going to test you on it.
Right.
And so it's hard to know what you have to be involved in study groups and talk to people who have taken the tests in the past to know how deep you have to go for each level. So chronologically speaking, I passed intro in January of 2011. I passed certified in November of 2013, and I passed advanced in July of 2016. And at that point, I decided that I was not going to push forward to go to the master exam. And in the past couple of years since that decision, I've made the decision to most likely not ever take the master sommelier exam. And it's not really related to a lot of the scandal that's been happening recently. It's just personally not really going to help my career since I've gone towards the distribution and sales person side of things.
Yeah, same.
And so it's sort of like, why spend the time and the money and the stress to take this crazy exam when it's not going to change my salary, really.
Right.
It's not going to change a lot of the opportunities that I'm going to have.
Right. It almost kind of sucks the joy out of it sometimes, like studying so much and being so deep in something that you really love for so many reasons, but day after day learning about soil types and climate and all these little like minutia and small things that like there was a moment, like I would say maybe a year ago or so, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not, this is not
like,
fun.
I don't care.
It doesn't
We're now
spark joy.
E for explicit.
Right. Oh,
I
sorry.
think we're always explicit.
Sorry, my bad.
No, swear away. We got to teach the children young along.
It doesn't spark joy, right? It didn't do that for me. It was starting to not.
I love Condomari.
But,
How expensive are the certifications?
Oh,
for those of the listeners that may be interested, or maybe like you've piqued their interest and
right.
maybe they're curious. I mean, because it's not just only a time investment that you then have to dedicate, which again, time is money, but then also there's a dollar amount. Like, how expensive
it's
are
a
they?
real dollar amount attached to it. And I think the difficult part is there's so many different certifications or classes to take.
And it's per, right?
And and it's, you know what's funny, like talking about wine, there are so many if, ands, or buts. Like anything we say is going to be an if, and, or but about it. Yeah.
Lots of buts.
Lots of buts. Seriously. We could talk about wine law and there's like, well, but this, and this, right? But
caveats.
There are. So generalities like we can definitely make, but it almost depends like why people are taking certifications. I think most people listening will be more interested in just enriching themselves and just becoming more well-rounded and better wine people or connoisseurs. So there's different programs for that. Like I would think that Wine and Spirits Education Trust is a really good route for them to just kind of get some really basic, well-rounded knowledge. I don't know if the Court of Masters is really for someone who's not in the industry or is not a professional. They won't be able to go very far or really succeed because it's so industry driven. Sommeliers are really service people. At one point, they tested you on cigars and cigar service. But that's since been removed.
Snipping the tip off the cigar, and then you can't legally smoke in any restaurant in the United States.
Right.
So.
But that doesn't matter because that's what they're testing.
You have to know.
Right. It's
And
changed now.
And like with that service, they're also like you have to be able to know like, okay, if one of the guests wants a scotch and they're having a certain type of steak or a certain type of dish, you have to know which one is going to go best with that.
Right.
And why, and
Absolutely,
explain that to those guests. Correct, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
that's one of the things that they do. So you're not only
I had
to
to
know
make
wine.
a cocktail at my advanced exam. I had to answer questions about cocktails and then make a cocktail while I was answering questions about wine and decanting wine. And
where the server is just going to be like, this is our specials. This is what I
here's
tell
the
you.
list of our scotches.
Yeah, I'll send the sommelier over to answer your questions in a second.
So it's all encompassing then, not just wine.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
the
Holy
sommelier,
crap.
yeah. And that's the difference between something like the Court of Master Sommeliers, because they talk about wine and beer and aperitifs and cocktails and spirits. And then the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, you can really just go on the wine track.
Right.
And as far as cost is concerned, I'm thinking about all the different things that I've paid for, and most of them are between $1,000 and $2,000 to sign up. And so with the Court of Master Sommeliers, you're only paying for the exam and no materials and no classes. And the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, you're paying for the class and the test. Because it's an in-class thing.
And then all the wine you're drinking to help you study, like,
Right.
and that I make that sound
separate.
like a joke, but it's really not because like
Oh,
Andy
it's
used
probably
to do
really intense too.
Oh yeah, because Andy used to do study groups at the house, and people would come over, and with Billy would come over and stuff like that, and they all would bring a couple of bottles, and then they would just test each other on kind of things. So
It's work.
like, yeah, it is work. Like they're
Yeah.
actually doing studying, even though they're drinking. I'm like, okay, y'all are studying.
How do you then like delineate the two? Because you obviously have a passion for wine and you obviously have a passion for the industry. How does it then creep to a point where it becomes kind of like the appeal and everything, because you're putting so much energy into learning, that it, like you had said, becomes less fun? Like, when do you make that decision?
I think it's different for everyone and in every situation. I think our world is so situational. At any time you put an alcoholic beverage in front of either of us, I think there's always a part in your brain that's a little analytical about it and trying to figure it out or think about it. But because we're professional hospitality people, we know how to turn things on and turn it off. And I think that's where it was formed with me. I'm not sure if it's the same with Molly, but growing up in restaurants and being in that environment, you really kind of learn like when the party's yours and when it's not, and how you can just kind of help enrich it, like a DJ basically playing music, or are you attending a party?
That's a
right?
good analogy.
It's a two ways to look at it, and I learned that in restaurants and the differences between the two.
It sounds way too simplified, but a lot of it has to do with the time of day when you're doing this. And that's related to the kind of experience that you join together with your fellow wine lovers for. If it's in the morning, you're probably doing a blind tasting exercise and you're spitting everything out and you're being Most of us are spitting everything out. And you are bringing a wine that's very specific. There's a set of agreed upon fair wines to bring, right? And so everyone's very regimented about their blind tasting in the morning because everyone has a full day of work ahead of them, or even if they have the day off, you've got a bunch of other shit to get done. And if it's after 5 and people are coming over for a bottle share, I'm still going to want to know all the things. Like, if you bring a cool bottle, I'm going to ask you all the things about it because I want to learn, but I'm going to drink it and enjoy it, and I'm going to be okay with getting a buzz or, even a little drunk or whatever. And so that's kind of where the, is it fun? It's always enjoyable, but are we having a fun time or are we having a constructive educational time?
That's fun.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to pivot here real quick because you mentioned something, and I know that I've seen your Instagram posts and everything about this and stuff like that. But talk to me about the scandal with the Court of Masters.
Well, I mean, which one?
I know. where do you want to start? I think you start with the first one.
Yeah, we got to take it back.
How many are there?
Rewind.
Two big ones.
Take it back.
Two that like Timberland. Oh my god.
Yeah. So the Master Sommelier exam has been deemed one of the hardest tests to pass, harder than the bar. The pass rate is 1%, something like that.
In the world. How many are there total?
There are currently about 260. About 30 of them are female. And so
you got that stat. It's right behind you. And I'm like, damn. All right, so she knows her stuff.
So there, every year somewhere between 2 and 8 people pass. They only give it once a year.
Right. And if you ever want to see what people go through to get to this level, you can watch the movies. There's documentaries called Somm and Somm 2 and stuff like that show what people do and how hardcore it really is.
That's crazy.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So in 2018, and it's always like 60-ish people that take the exam. So in 2018, the same amount of people took the exam, and 24 people passed.
Oh, I remember this.
And everyone was like, that is bizarre.
Brilliant.
Yeah, what a great class we had. Some people were like, whoa, is there something fishy going on? But
oh my god, recount.
But a lot of these people,
right. Enter Georgia,
right? Like, there are a lot of these people that have taken this test 9 times because there are 3 different parts and you have to pass all 3 of them within 3 years and you can reset. And so some people are like, well, maybe it was just that year when everyone had the same kind of focus.
The planets aligned and
wait, so you don't have a cap of how many times you can take it? Before they say, maybe this isn't for you.
They
Or, well, I guess I'll take their money. It's fine.
Yeah, right. That's basically... There are a couple people that have been told that they will probably never pass, and that's because they've been... There are some people that are not a good representation of the quote-unquote brand, and therefore will never pass, which is something that the masters won't say that out loud.
Right.
Which is a scandal in itself.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've got this prestigious title. Mm-hmm. So anyway... This is laughable considering what's happened in the past couple of years. And so these 24 people passed, and then 2 weeks after they passed, the court sent an email to everyone who has ever taken a Court of Master Sommelier's exam, which is probably 10,000 people because it includes all the intro people. And they sent an email out saying there was cheating, and we are going to revoke the pins of everybody that passed, and we'll follow up with more information.
Not really necessary to tell everybody. Couldn't you just told the 24 people?
So everyone,
that's some petty stuff.
Everyone's texting each other. Did you get the email? Oh my God, what's going on?
Who was it?
Who was it? And there is a somm from San Diego who passed, and so there's a muckraking journalist on the UT that basically made it sound like he was the cheater. And if you know Josh, he is the purest. He's basically a non-Mormon
He's awesome.
Mormon. And he's he's a great mentor. He's a genius. And he's such a pure person that there was no way that he had anything to do with this thing. And then it came out a couple weeks later that one of the master sommeliers was the actual source of the cheating. He had sent in an email to, I think, 3 people, the initials of 2 of the grapes that were in the blind tasting.
It's just a big deal.
Like the morning
That is a
of.
big deal, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically the answer.
Yeah, basically.
To 2, you said to 3 people?
2 or 3 people.
Well,
yeah.
then they obviously dispersed it.
Well, so that's the thing, right? The court didn't know who they had talked to about it, so they had to, in their mind, invalidate all of the results. And then
That's
they gave
so
everyone
terrible.
that didn't pass, actually, they gave everyone that even took the test, the blind tasting, they gave them another 2 more chances to pass within the year to have it still count. So I think 8 people that originally had their pins taken away passed a second time, maybe
Okay.
like 10
Because they
now.
did the hard work and were actually
They were probably
deserving
the
of
8 that
it.
were supposed to get it in
Yeah.
the first
Well, the
place.
crazy thing is, like blind tasting is it is a deductive process and there's a skill to it, but also everyone's palate is different and they're more or less sensitive to certain kinds of things. So if you get wines that you love and you're like, oh, that's a ringer, I know that's Chablis and I know that's Pinot Noir from Burgundy, then you're in luck. But if you're the kind of person that has a really hard time smelling black pepper and Syrah, and you get Syrah, you could go out of left field because you just didn't catch that one thing.
It's
And
so subjective.
It is. It's hard to say that it's an objective process. You can get points, whatever. So anyways, that's the scandal. And Josh,
Scandal 1.
Josh, by the way, the San Diegan tested again and passed twice, so
Yeah,
he's a
good for
legend.
him. Yeah.
And
Go Josh.
He has 2 pins.
he has 2 pins.
Wait,
yeah.
really?
One of the few people with
'Cause-
2 pins for the
'cause
first
they-
time.
he didn't
They
give it
didn't
back.
physically take the pin away.
They just revoked the title.
The
He would
first-
sell one.
The
He was
first event he
canceled.
went
Cancel
to,
culture.
he was wearing like one on each lapel. I was like, yes, man. So that was one of the first scandals because a lot of people were like, there's no transparency here. Like, who let the dog out of the bag and who, like, also the people that received the email was sort of like somebody sent them an email and they opened it and it's definitely like the person that sent the email's fault, but how much is it the fault of the people that opened the email?
Right.
And it's
Can't
just
unsee
like,
that, you know?
yeah. And it could have
Yeah.
been just like, oh, they just opened an email and they're like, oh, shit. And, like there was an opportunity in the first few hours of that morning to say something, but whatever. So a lot of people got like really weirded out by the way that the court handled it.
Yeah.
And
Lots of controversy with that and how the court handled it.
Yeah.
Definitely split camps. Like, did they handle it correctly or didn't they?
yeah.
And
We're just going to say no here.
right. Well,
Yeah. But then, people continued to take the exams for the next couple of years. And so I guess that leads us to the second scandal, the more recent scandal. And the revelation of this scandal is more recent. The actual scandal has been ongoing probably since the inception of the court. And that is there were a group of women that enlisted the help of a New York Times writer to go on record and discuss their experiences of sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, and sexual assault by members of the Court of Master Sommeliers.
Wow.
And
not even members, just master sommeliers.
right.
To be-
Sorry,
to
the
be
Master
specific.
Sommeliers. These people that are in these men, it was all men that had been named, in positions of power that had been exposing themselves to women, that had been propositioning them, that had been basically offering them quid pro quo, for sexual favors for
Stop.
advancement in the court and things like that.
And I mean, let's be real, like Court of Masters and just the world of sommeliers and just restaurants in general is a very straight, white, male dominated industry. So it's already hard enough for any person of color or a woman or homosexual, lesbian, whoever.
Any minority that doesn't
any minority
fit the bill.
whatsoever
Yeah.
to kind of do anything and get along and get
Yeah.
further.
Actually, now that you say that, I would be remiss if I didn't interject another scandal that happened in between this during all of the Black Lives Matter and racial justice protests earlier this year. The court, which is a private organization, and theoretically they can do or not do whatever they want, say and not say whatever they want. They're not really beholden, but they were completely silent on the issues of systemic racism and racial discrimination, and they got called out by a bunch of prominent African Americans and other Psalms of color, saying like, why aren't you saying something about these issues that we all face in our day-to-day lives in the restaurant industry?
Right.
So that's another chip off
It adds
of
the
them.
layers. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so as a woman in the industry, how did that affect you?
Well, I wasn't surprised. I was actually approached by the women that were writing the article and the New York
Really?
Times writer, and I decided not to go on record because my issues were kind of microaggressions, and I felt like they kind of watered down the story that these other women had.
Mm-hmm.
And because, I don't know, there's something in the back of my mind that's always like, what is the critic going to say about this if I write like, oh, someone flirted with me and it made me feel uncomfortable? Like, that happens.
It's still valid, though.
But yeah,
Sure.
it's still valid, and it's still not what you weren't asking for that, and it's still somebody taking advantage of their stature and where they're at. I mean, that's not okay. But I get where you're coming from though too, because if you're looking at some of these women and they've had sexual assault, it's like he put his hand up my dress or something like that. That's it makes you look at it and it's like, okay, maybe, but it still is a valid.
So the way it makes me feel is that I'm so glad that these women felt like they were willing to put their names on the line in a global forum, and they've definitely sparked a movement that has called, some people are calling for the dissolution of the court, some people are calling for, and this is actually a step that was just completed today, the board itself was dismembered, and then they voted on a new board of advisors.
Oh, good.
For the court.
Wow.
Hopefully it's a little bit more diverse. So.
It is. I mean, if you look at the makeup of the court of master sommeliers, it's mostly white dudes, and then most of the women are white as well. It's mostly white people. There are a couple of African American people. There's one woman that's of Indian, Southeast Asian descent. There's a couple of Asian gentlemen. But the new board does look a lot more diverse than the old board. And there were really serious issues of non-transparency. Most of the master sommeliers had no idea that any of this was going on. I mean, there were some notorious
people with some reputations for sure. What's crazy about it though, the transparency issue has been a long one, even with the testing, especially at the master level. You never get to see your rubric or your scores. You get to see scores or you get feedback, but no one actually tells you like, here's what the blind flight was, or here's exactly this wine. So they could still reserve
the answers to the question.
Right. They could still reserve this
discrimination.
It's
a private thing. So what are you going to do?
It is, but it also ruins the credibility, and that's why Molly had mentioned earlier about like, there's people who have been told just to stop because you don't represent the court well. But what if they know all the answers? What if they could take a test well? They should still be able to pass. Right.
Yeah.
So this transparency issue is systemic for sure. And I don't know. I part of me thinks it's too little too late in a lot of ways, but we'll see. There's actually master sommeliers who have given up their titles.
Really?
They spent their entire adult lives earning this thing, and to make a statement, and out of whatever else they're feeling, disgust or anything else, they just like, I'm giving my title up. I don't want it anymore.
After all the work and money that they put into it.
Can you imagine?
That speaks volumes.
Well, to be fair, becoming a master sommelier is in and of itself, in some ways, a moneymaker. And the people that gave up their pins had their own businesses.
Correct.
Or they were working at some of the best restaurants.
Very few master sommeliers actually work in restaurants.
Right. They've already made their names for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
What did they do then?
They were struggling.
They own their own. So, in particular, two of the people that gave up their titles, one of them owns several wine projects around the world. So he has his name attached to different wineries, and then one of them runs an online wine retail club.
Okay.
So they had backup plans. Hey, I don't need my title because I'm rich.
Right.
So we're gonna pivot again, and we're gonna like get some like lighthearted stuff going. So
Awesome.
Can
I'm a
I
Taurus.
just mention one thing really
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead, please.
Because I think one of the things that's being missed in the conversation about the court and the sexual harassment and abuse is that it's a huge deal in the court, right? Because there's these power dynamics, and it's caused women to leave the certification process entirely. But it's an industry-wide issue. It's a society-wide issue, but it's something that I experience, in my role on the floor as a manager, in my role in sales for sure, with buyers. And so I don't want people to think that like the court, it's not gotcha journalism, right? We got the court and they're done, and now the world is a perfect place.
Because let me tell you, working in a kitchen as a gay man, and like going into one, like, because the one I work in, coming in, it was hyper masculine, so I felt like I had to hide who I was. So I was very butch.
I think really. I feel like it kind of applies. I mean, similar story to me too. Like working in biotech is very straight male oriented. It's engineering, and I'm like, obviously a beautiful homo, but same sort of thing. You go in, and so I feel like we're all sharing a very unique and similar story that is actually pretty not uncommon,
right?
So I think I think a part of the training that we receive as people in this industry and in any industry really is to be given the tools to address these problems as they arise in a safe space and a safe manner.
Absolutely.
So that the people that are perpetrating these issues know that it's not right away, and the people that are being injured by these issues feel like it's okay to speak up and also feel protected. Mm-hmm. So that was just
I'm glad you said that.
Stepping down.
Love that. Yeah. All right. So here we go. So my first question for you is, when people know that you're a som, do they just assume you're a wine snob? Or do they become wine snobs themselves when they know that you're a som?
Well, I think for me, there's a couple of different ways to answer that, and it depends on the situation. If I'm in a restaurant situation and they meet me as a sommelier, typically they want to tell me what they know, and they want to show off and talk about their wine knowledge. And that's great because, we're good listeners at the end of the day, being in service. But in my personal life, or just, around friends and family or meeting new people, if I find that out, I don't necessarily think that they think I'm a snob per se, but they do make the like, oh, haha, like fancy kind of like joke or laugh about it, which is cute. And I think it's funny. Like,
what's your French word?
Right, a cigarette.
That French ass name is bomb.
But anything like meeting a rocket scientist, I would probably make a random joke for them or something. Like I don't know,
that's
but
true.
I don't feel that way. I don't know about you, Molly.
I think sometimes, I don't think people think I'm a snob. I think they just get kind of nervous if we're in a scenario where they have to pick a wine or they brought a wine and they're worried that you're going to judge them.
Oh, you're totally judging.
You're answering all of my
garbage.
questions. I was like, do people get intimidated?
Well, that's why when I throw a party, most of my good friends are in the wine industry as well. Yeah. But if I'm throwing a party and people are coming that aren't wine people, all I have to say to them is, you don't have to worry about bringing wine. I have so much wine at home. Don't feel nervous about picking something out nice from whatever your local store is. I have plenty of wine. You bring something else that you're excited about that I can learn from you about. Because
let me translate that. Leave your garbage yellowtail at home. we have the wine. That's the translation.
Some menage a trois.
Yes.
My dad texted me this morning. He was like, I feel like a real wine professional because I could identify a bottle in someone's Zoom background, and it was like an MSNBC picture, and it was 19 Crimes.
Awesome, though.
I'm sorry.
I feel like that is a crime in and of itself.
Yeah.
Right, 20 crimes now.
See, because Andy knows so many like wine people and stuff like that, I've gotten to where I know some terms, so I can just drop those like when people are swirling their wine, I'm like, oh my god, that has great legs.
You like carbonic maceration.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my god, it has notes of underbrush.
Come through viscosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that tricloresol?
Non-fruit tasting note and feels so special.
I need to be a little fruit forward like me.
Stop it.
All right. So Molly and then Billy, what are some of your favorite wines and why?
Ooh, are we talking kind of just, I would say for general categories, My heart says champagne, but my bank account says Cava. So I drink a lot of what we call traditional method sparkling wine. So wine that's made the same way as champagne, which is different than the way that Prosecco is made.
So, just so everybody knows, champagne and sparkling wine are like thumbs. Not all sparkling wines are champagne, but all champagnes are sparkling wine.
Right.
Wait, how is
So-
that?
That's actually,
So
there's a but to that.
There's
Yeah,
butts.
but like your thumb is a finger, but not all fingers are thumbs.
Square rectangle. Yeah.
Oh,
Right. And there's
I was like,
still
wait, that
wines
doesn't
in
make
champagne.
sense. What?
Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified.
So Cava is sparkling wine made the same way as champagne, but it's from Spain. I don't know how Spain does it or why they do it, but pretty much everything from Spain is ridiculously value driven. Like the quality is great and the price is half of what you could find anywhere else, which leads me to my next favorite category, Iberian whites. Anything from the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain
I
and
love
Portugal.
a nice Iberian white too.
That's your drag name. Coming to the stage is Iberian White.
But yeah, there's so much. Most white wine from Spain and Portugal doesn't see a lot of oak, so it's very light and crisp and acid-driven. Very great food pairing wines.
Because oak is what gives you that butteriness, right? That people usually get.
And
with
the
those
color,
white
right?
wines.
The butteriness actually comes from what's called malolactic fermentation, but
Ooh, come through with your science.
Oh, it's coming.
malic acid, like apples, turn into lactic acid, like milk. So that's where the creamy butteriness comes from, and it's actually the same chemical that's used to flavor popcorn butter.
Okay, well then fuck me then, I guess.
But they usually go hand in hand. They usually go hand in hand. Like with California Chardonnay, usually put some oak on it. You get those like vanilla, butterscotch flavors, and then like the buttery thing is something that kind of goes hand in hand with that style.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are my kind of go-tos. Even in the wintertime, I'm just like, I always want something refreshing.
Yeah, come through Iberian White. I have a follow-up question that is additional to Paul's question. So those are your favorites, but what is your favorite guilty pleasure wine / drink that you may not want people to know that you like?
Ooh.
Well, guilty pleasure, the first thing I thought about was expensive whites that you splurge on. Not like a cheesecake behind your couch at midnight. Kind
Or like maybe what I was trying to think of was like maybe like if you said it aloud, you'd be like, "Oh my god, I don't want people to know that I like
embarrassed.
this."
Trader Joe's $2 chuck.
Or like you like Franzia. Like Franzia really hits a spot for you. If it's applicable, if not, then that's fine too.
I mean, I would say more like I don't drink a lot of things that are sweet because I'm on like the keto train. But every now and then, I'm like really down for a tiki drink, which tend to be very sweet.
It's pure sugar, yeah.
But as long as there's enough of like an herbaceous quality to balance it out,
well
like
balanced rum.
there's what's the tiki place by Craft and Commerce?
Oh, False Idol.
Yeah, so they make a chartreuse swizzle, which is kind of a tiki drink, and it's like chartreuse liqueur with like rum, and it's spicy and herbaceous, but also sweet. So it's got a
That's
nice
me.
balance.
I'm spicy and herbaceous.
You are, and also sweet.
I know. All right, so Billy, what about you? Your favorite wines, why, and your guilty pleasure?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question because my question back would be like, where am I? Who am I with? What am I eating?
Oh, Lord.
So I'm going to give you... no,
So
for real.
Paul's like,
Has
oh
to
my
put
god.
up me, okay.
It's
You're like-
situational. It's like a personality test. It depends.
It's absolutely situational. It's
Like your
it's-
underwear.
Yeah.
Depends.
Yes. If you wear some.
Yeah, if you choose to wear any.
We don't judge.
So for me, generally speaking, I would say rosés and light-bodied red wines is pretty much what I drink like year-round. So that's something that's very accessible, something that is usually unoaked, things that are still fruity enough to just kill a bottle without having to eat eat with it or have steak or any kind of
Cheese.
food. Just really easy to drink. So that's kind of where I'm at. So as far as rosés go, you know, the lighter hued Provençal style rosés, the South France, are usually where I gravitate to. And then light bodied red wines. I'm loving Spain for that. There's this really pretty.
You guys are in love with Spain. Just
yeah.
move there.
Well, the
Oh,
values
and
are
España is
so
great.
I'm a Spanish wine
Right,
scholar,
right.
so
Yeah, we just took a Spanish wine scholar course in
Ah,
exam.
we
okay.
get to
So,
explore
see.
a lot of the hidden gems.
Right.
All right, so you guys have wine in your hands that Andy has
Oh
poured.
my God.
So we're gonna put you on the spot,
yeah.
and we want you to
Okay.
do your little sommelier thing,
All right,
and
all right.
tell our listeners about it.
Ooh,
For the
wow.
record, the room smells like pine, heavy pine, and that is not ideal for
We're all in the spirit.
Ew.
blind
You
tasting
smell like
wines.
pie.
And that's a pie saw.
I'm like, you know what's funny? We walk into exams sometimes, and this happened to me once. And I sat down next to somebody, and all I could smell was perfume.
I was gonna
I was
say,
just like,
yeah.
No, girl.
I was like,
Just like when I'm in the kitchen and you're like, and you walk by somebody and they like have heavy like deodorant or cologne. I'm like,
Yeah.
bitch, what?
Excuse you? Yeah. No, I moved because
So
I'm just
taboo.
like, what?
Well,
Yeah,
it
it's
impairs
faux pas.
your ability to actually do what you need
Right.
to do, right?
It's actually
Yeah.
really faux pas too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not something that you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
Okay, so don't say pine as your first answer.
Okay, so
Faux pas.
Well, first when we blind taste, right? We look at the hue. So that's what we're doing right now. We're looking at the hue of the wine. We're trying to understand like what its opacity, how opaque it is. This wine I can see through it, but not easily.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, okay.
And then also another thing we start to assess is how it affects the glass. Like
They're
is it-
swirling everybody.
Yeah,
They're
we're swirling the wine.
Look at
we're
that.
looking.
Oh.
That has great legs.
okay, so I want to have a note on legs. Because the legs, and when you swirl the glass, right, it's the dripping that comes down the side.
What's your sugar
And
content, right?
It's relative to sugar and alcohol and overall viscosity, the weight of the
Yep.
wine. And also if there's coloring in the legs, that has to do with skin contact and the amount, because there's more skin contact is more color in the wine. It can actually sometimes coat the glass. And so if you have a light-bodied wine like Pinot Noir that you want to not have a lot of sugar or a lot of extra color or a lot of alcohol, you don't really want legs. But if you have something like big and unctuous like Zinfandel, then you kind of do
like
want
me.
big.
I know
legs.
I want legs to be
Billy
able
is-
to walk.
Billy is big and unctuous. Just so anybody who's out there might be single or something. Are you single?
DM me. No, yeah.
Okay.
We can also do a matchmaking game too. I mean, hey,
Yes.
it's a 2-for-1 podcast, right?
All right. So,
Okay.
where are we at?
So we're at that it's a little bit transparent. So in our head, we're thinking thin-ish skinned grape. And that puts us at grapes like things that are tend to have more transparent, translucent coloring are Pinot Noir, Grenache, Nebbiolo, sometimes Sangiovese, Gamay. So these are all like, this is what's swirling around in my head.
Right. It's a deductive tasting process. It's a deductive process. So we start
Like a flow chart.
So the wine is red.
Oh yeah, sorry, we didn't say that. The one's
yeah.
red.
That would have been
Visual,
my
not visual,
contribution.
yeah.
My contribution would be like, it's red and it smells like grapes.
You win, Paul. You win.
So the wine is
100%.
red. So we've cut out all the white wines in the world, right?
So
And
it's
now-
not a Chardonnay.
It's not. It's
not
not
white.
So it's why it's deductive. So we start with everything, and then you slowly get down to what it could be for many reasons. One
And then-
thing. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
I'll say another thing I noticed is like there might be some. Normally we would see this on a really really white light colored background, but there might be some rim variations, so some color changing around the rim.
You did that on purpose.
Right.
Rim variations. We're all aware of that.
That's the age test, by the way. If you never know, don't ask for ID. That's uncomfortable. You just count the rings. My bad. Okay, I went way left field with that. My bad.
Wait, I totally did not get that. Can you explain to our listeners?
We'll have a private class.
Okay. I will just sit here in the corner not knowing. Can someone text me what that is?
Sorry, way off topic. My
But
bad.
I agree with you on the fact that this is a wine that, like, it starts off in the very core of it, very ruby, and then as you go out, it's a little more brickish.
Right,
Okay.
I agree.
Like-
so that could tell you a lot of things. It could tell you possibly age in the wine. It could possibly tell you how it was stored. It's none of these things are anything you draw a conclusion on. By the way, it's just all these little facts that you try to
Building
put
an
in your head.
argument.
Exactly.
And all you're doing is looking at the color and how it swirls in the glass right now.
Right.
And
Right,
that's it.
yeah.
Which is fascinating, everyone that's not watching but listening.
All right.
So we have those ideas in our head. Things.
Oh, now we're sniffing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of us are.
Like trying to say hi. Like
yeah, huffing. Talk about huffing the wine.
Yeah.
And then when you
Fine.
smell, do you open your mouth?
Fine.
But when you're breathing in, do you open your mouth? Because sometimes I know some people do that so that they can actually get that.
I do
Kinda
with only high
on it.
alcohol things.
Oh, okay.
Like I
Yes,
generally keep
right,
my
with
mouth,
spirits. Yeah.
with spirits.
Mhm.
So we both judge spirits and wines professionally as well. And spirits, because of the high alcohol content, you keep
wanna,
your mouth open.
Give it an escape.
Oh,
Exactly.
Really?
Up your nose
Helps
and
prevent
then
burning.
Oh,
back
oh
out
my
your
gosh!
mouth.
Wow. Have you ever been burned in your nose by sniffing something?
By
Oh, we have
Amarone.
shaking heads. Oh my god!
Yeah.
You guys are—it's a dangerous thing to do. Then
It
Man.
is,
Yeah.
yes. We
It's
put
a
our life on the
safety.
line.
Like hurts your nostrils sometimes.
So just right now, what you've been doing and stuff like that, just because you haven't actually really, I mean, you've tasted it, but we haven't gotten to like the tasting notes yet.
Mhm.
Is it, in your opinion, right now, a good wine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I think
Okay.
so. We talk about youthful, developing, aged, and I would call it developing,
Right.
Because the fruit is not all super fresh.
It's a teenager.
that's like me.
Right.
I'm developing still.
so
Going through second puberty.
right, yeah. So
Often there.
this wine is maturing. And maturing in a really nice way. So when we say that maybe the fruit's not fresh, it's like the fruit's not really primary and in your face. There's other things, secondary and third, tertiary type things that start becoming apparent in the wine.
Oh, these like
And,
$12
and I do smell the development on the
13.
fruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fruit is starting to smell a little bit dried or
Right. It's not like
Ew, don't be talking about me like that.
You're matured.
You smell dry.
well, it's not like you're picking a fresh strawberry. It's like you are having like a dried strawberry that's in a bunch of dried fruit.
right, right.
That's
I
kind
like
of
that.
the difference.
Or a roll up. Or
Still
fruit roll-up.
delicious.
Did you just
I
call me
like
dry
fruit
fruit?
Yeah.
That's my drag name.
But
What is it?
it's
Imperial
concentrated
white?
flavors.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. It's good. It's a good thing. Until it's not.
All right, so they're tasting.
Yeah.
now.
So we're smelling wine. So as far as like primary fruit that we smell here, red fruit kind of off the bat for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like in your cherries, raspberries. Not super tart red fruit, but pretty ripe red fruit. The strawberries, cherries. I don't know. Red currant type world for me.
And kind of like compote-y.
Yeah.
Like it's like in a jam or in a
Oh.
pie filling.
Ooh,
Yeah.
That kind of.
So the condition of the fruit is important because it tells you a lot about the climate. Is the fruit underripe, ripe, overripe, stewed, jammed, cooked, baked? Like all of these things give you clues, and that's all we're looking for is clues.
Yeah.
So we're like a crime scene detective right now. Like
They're like the Scooby Gang.
right.
And they would have gotten through with it if it weren't for those dang nabbit kids. So when do you actually taste it?
You're like, this show is only an hour long.
Why is that so funny? Because I love how you're like, are you all gonna taste this?
No, I'm curious because, like, is it like how much of a sensory experience do you have to do your deduction before you actually then taste it? Is it all the prep work and then like you taste it and you're like, oh, everything that I thought was right?
Oh, it's all
That's
sensory.
a part of it too. Is like
Okay.
you smell it first and then you taste it and you're kind of looking to confirm that everything that you taste is also what you smell because it should be because when you 90% of your sense of taste is actually the flavor molecules evaporating in your mouth that you're actually smelling because those flavor molecules then go back up to the same place that your orthonasal receptor and your retronasal receptor go to the same place. And all you really get on your tongue are structural sensations, which is another part of the tasting part of it. And when we talk about structure, we're talking about tannin, acid, weight, alcohol, sweetness. So that's the sweet, sour, bitter, umami. Those are the things that the only real things that your tongue can identify. Everything else is your brain analyzing these aroma molecules, whether they come from your nose or from your mouth cavity. So if you want to think about something, maybe don't think about it next time. It's like literally speaking, everything you smell, you are tasting. Like everything you smell is a molecule going into your body. So think about that next time.
Along
you
with
go
our
to the
Christmas
bathroom.
candle.
Is that what we call it? Molecules going into our body? I'll tell that to the next guy.
And the great thing about wine, I like to say this to people, it's just like colors, right? The color purple isn't just purple. It's red plus
Or a
blue
movie.
I was just going to say
together.
also a musical.
Also a great movie with Oprah. And so when you think about the flavor of the magical thing about wine is that it is the most chemically complex fruit juice on the planet after fermentation. So when we're not bullshitting when we say black cherry or strawberry, it's literally the same chemical that your brain identifies when you eat a strawberry. It's the same molecule there as in the wine. So that's one of the kind of
That's why it's amazing.
mysteries. Yeah. So
People usually ask in restaurants, like, oh, is there cherry in this? You said strawberry. They put strawberries in it? No, it's these chemicals
how
develop.
do you get the strawberries in the wine?
Right. It's cute, but it's not, it's not how it works. But anyway, on the palate, this is a dry wine. It's not sweet. The acid, I would put maybe medium plus-ish.
Okay.
Tannin, maybe right around the same. The body probably on the medium plus side, alcohol as well. The fruit, I can confirm everything we said earlier. They're starting to get dry. There's a little like fig kind of character to it. There's development on this wine, so that tells me that there's some age here.
All right.
And then we didn't really talk about non-fruit on the nose,
Right.
but things that when we are expanding our vocabulary, because it's, wine is made from grapes, it's a fruit, so it's easy to think of fruit flavors. But then I always challenge people to think of as esoteric as a descriptor.
Leather or tobacco.
Right, like
Oh,
use your sense memory.
Hints of underbrush.
Anything could be there.
Sous
Gardenia.
Like old books.
Yeah. So like
That's a good
flowers
smell, though.
and rocks and different kinds of dirt. If you're a gardener, there's a difference between really dark potting soil and then like the dusty soil that maybe you put your rosemary in,
Okay.
So those are all different smells. And then herbs too, like rosemary and tarragon and bay leaf and all of these things can be aromas that you find in wine, and mushrooms of all different sorts and your grandmother's perfume and different kinds of flowers and literally anything is fair game.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost endless.
Tire fire, latex, hospital glove.
wow.
Those are all things.
What do we think we're drinking?
Okay.
Over there. Wait.
So other non-fruits to me, there's a little bit of like a baking spice, cinnamon, nutmeg. There may be a little bit of new oak on this, although not a ton, because it's not overwhelmed by those desserty flavors.
So you think it's old world or new world?
What does that mean?
Oh, good question. So I'll answer that one while he thinks about that. So Old World, New World. So Old World basically is Europe. So we're talking about France, Spain, Italy, Germany, Hungary, all those other little countries that produce wine. Basically, that's the Old World. The New World is everywhere else. So basically, United States, Australia, New Zealand, China,
cool.
Japan. That's all considered all New World.
Gotcha.
In
Cool.
Canada.
And stylistically speaking, this is a generalization, but the Old World tends to be higher in the non-fruit category and higher in acid, not quite as ripe. And the New World, this is like a palate thing for the regions that are in the New World, tend to be fuller bodied, more ripe, higher in alcohol. And so if you think about the difference between if you've ever had a red wine from Bordeaux, which is the home of Cab and Merlot, versus a Cab from Napa, like Merlot and Bordeaux is like cedar and currant and like a little bit of toast and tart cherry. And then if you go Napa Cab, you're like, there's like vanilla and baked cherry and blueberry and so that's old versus new. So
stylistically, they're different for sure. I'm kind of in like a Zen camp with this. It's a tough one. I think it has a decent amount of alcohol. I think it has a broad spectrum of fruits and different kinds of ripenesses, which is all Zinfandels for me. It does have some age on it, which is kind of maybe throwing me off a little bit. So if it wasn't Zinfandel for me, it's going to be something else that can be similar, maybe. And this is contradictory. Now I'm back in the old world. If it's like a Corvina something or something, I don't know. So that's from northeastern Italy. But again, I know I said kind of in a New World-ish. I'm not sure where you're kind of landing with this one.
All right.
I'm also landing in the New World, but I think the color and the fruit profile to me is very Grenache. And also Grenache is a grape that tends to oxidize a little bit quicker. So that browning in color could mean it has a little bit of age, but not quite so much as we would expect from a different grape. Like all that red fruit and like
it wouldn't be Aussie Grenache,
pie
would it?
filling. More like fancy Central Coast Grenache.
Oh, look!
So I
it is a Syrah Grenache blend.
Oh, it's- okay.
So when you were smelling it, you basically guessed that right as you were smelling it. I remember you said that.
Oh, did I say it out loud?
Yeah, you were like, I would think of Grenache. I was like, shut up, Joe. She's getting into it. But you like almost like instantly like honed in on it, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, damn.
For me, Grenache, well, this has Syrah in it too, so I'm not sure. It sounds like it has more Syrah possibly than Grenache.
SGM.
It's called a GSM wine.
Oh, so
Okay.
definitely
So it's
more
Grenache.
Grenache.
Oh, no, it's not. What I don't.
It's 75% Grenache.
Okay, yeah.
25% Syrah.
Yeah, okay. So GSM, yeah.
That was one of our producers, Andy. Thank you. He's a wine person.
And
It's
so,
red.
Yeah, and I think like for me, Grenache is like all the raspberries in all different ways, and yeah,
Lots of
like
red fruit alcohol.
and then that slightly paler color because it is a thin-skinned grape, and a little more orange in the coloring because it's a grape that oxygen affects more, which gets like really scientific. But some grapes tend to absorb more oxygen and turn color a little bit quicker.
Okay, so it's a 2012.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Okay,
about
definitely
8
has
years.
a little
So
bit of age on it.
it's like getting to that point where it's like right along the time that you're supposed to drink it.
I would say this is. I would say this is drink
wines-
now. I don't know if it necessarily benefit for longer aging. Maybe the next couple of years it's totally fine.
Right.
So what happens when wine ages? The fruit just begins to fall away. When I say fall away, is like you won't be able to perceive it as much anymore. And none of us want to drink a wine where we can't taste any fruit. So this wine, I think it's showing beautifully. I think the development is at a really, really nice. It's on its apex right here, I believe.
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
It's a great holiday wine too because it tastes
Absolutely.
like
that
a
was going to
pie.
be my next
One of your
question is your
questions.
suggestions for holiday wine. I mean, we can't really entertain, but you know,
For
if
a Zoom.
if you're having your family over and you want to have a nice wine, or just not even wine, it could be anything that you think would be nice for not only a holiday celebration but also like New Year's. Like, what are your suggestions?
Yeah, I mean,
What are you seeing?
a lot. Like I still like the light bodied red wine, especially with things like turkey and holiday-esque for me is things like this. Like in my bag, I actually have a Grenache too. If you want to try a young one, it's 2019. It'd be cool to maybe compare the two. Yeah, compare the two and see what it's like.
Yeah.
But Grenache, I think, is fantastic for the holidays. It might get grandma drunk, which is perfect because it's higher in alcohol, typically.
Yay! So she'll be racist. That she usually
Oh my
is.
More than normal.
Here's us bringing in our personal lives into the podcast.
Give her an Ambien. Hopefully she doesn't shit her pants.
Oh, too soon. That part's it now. I'm like,
It's not very personal. It's out there.
We're all friends here.
But back to the question at hand. Sparkling wine always,
Yes,
right? And I
100%,
know Molly's all for that. Sparkling wines for me that I've been really excited about lately is in the northeastern or western part of Italy in Piedmont. There's some really spectacular sparkling wines. One that I had recently is called Cuvée Aurora. It's Pinot Noir sparkling wine from Alta Langa. So it's the upper area of the Langhe. And
oh, I
it's
just love the way you say those.
it's all made in
That's a deli. No, that's Altadena.
yeah, not the same.
That's the milk company.
It's all made in champagne method or the traditional method. That's just like champagne is made. And it's really, you can get a really great high quality vintage wine without paying like champagne type prices.
Yeah.
Of course, Cava, Prosecco. People love Prosecco, so I'm always an advocate for them. Not necessarily for me per se.
You do you.
I love this narrative
I'll
for
do
you,
that.
but not for me.
Oh, trust me, I go to a party, I'm like, here's the wine for everybody, and then I have my one over here. It's on the side. Which is
Well,
you know, I think
Prosecco
that's
tends
fair.
to be the one of the few sparkling wines that is traditionally made with a little bit more sweetness to it. And so that's very palate pleasing, but I prefer much drier sparkling wines because they tend to be more palate cleansing. So if you're having like fried food appetizers, which are, that's going to be big as we get more into like celebratory, just like hangouts in small groups. please.
Potato
with
chips and
people that are
traditional
safe.
method sparkling wine.
Yeah.
It's an awesome pairing.
Like one of my favorite pairings for my 30th birthday, I literally just sat in a wine shop and drank champagne all night, and I ordered like a 40-piece chicken McNugget
From McDonald's?
from McDonald's with sweet and sour
Stop it.
sauce, and I invited like all of my friends to just swing by, have some chicken nuggets, have some
Oh, you
champagne.
gave it to them?
Well, I ate like
You
20 of them
shared?
myself.
Well, yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah. I
Well,
had,
not
like,
with McNuggets.
Side stash of McNuggets for my friends, big stash for myself.
Yeah, so you had the 20 piece and you gave them the like 5.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, so
All right. So, is there a dinner or a restaurant that you guys have been to where the dinner and the wine pairing was spectacular?
I mean, I know we both had those experiences.
we've planned them, we've attended
Yeah,
them.
yeah, in so many ways. But I'll tell you one where it was maybe kind of like it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yes, please.
So I had the privilege to go to the number 1 restaurant in the world at the time, Osteria Francescana, in Modena, Italy. And so on my birthday, I always travel somewhere and I always treat myself. That's my thing. Like that's all I do.
And we're almost birthday twins.
Yeah,
We're
yeah, 1 day apart. Yeah,
When's your birthdays?
yeah, May 10,
May 12th.
May 12th.
So 2 days.
2 days apart.
Oh.
Close. We're super close.
Yeah.
We're both Tauruses.
Oh.
Not stubborn at all.
Right, because you
um,
went for lunch, right? Or
what's that?
Did you go for lunch?
I went for
or-
dinner.
Okay, dinner. Okay.
Yeah, so it was dinner, and it was a 13-course meal. Everything had a pairing, and I was a hick there. I was like, I'm from Hawaii. I have tattoos. It's weird. I wasn't fitting in. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I would say in that entire pairing experience, and everything was on the table, from fruit juices to beers to ciders to alcohol to wine to cocktails. Anything was game, and that was part of the pairing. But only maybe 3 of them out of the 13 were amazing, and that's how hard it is to actually create a pairing. It's so hard because all of our physiologically we're all different, right? We process chemicals and flavors and compounds differently than another person would, and I'm sitting there in a 3 Michelin star restaurant going like, holy shit, like this guy did not nail this pairing.
Oh.
But it's okay. It's totally okay because I know how hard it is, but it made me
Yeah.
actually kind of feel better in what I do, in the sense that like, it's really hard and it's different.
but I mean, let's be real. You're paying quite a bit of money for
Yes,
the experience,
you're
and you
right.
want to be wowed. Because, like, when we did the restaurant at Meadowood,
Mhm.
Andy did the wine pairing, and it was like, did you go to Vaughn's and get this off the shelf? Like, what is going on? Because this is not up to par.
Yeah.
Like, and R.I.P. Restaurant at Meadowood. Like, no disrespect,
right.
but it's like, come on.
They can
Right.
sponsor us.
No,
if they
but
want.
but that's the point though. Is it's not, you can't hit the ball. You can't make an amazing pairing every single time.
Mhm.
I think if in the course of a meal I have one thing that's like you can't tell when one starts and the other begins. That's kind of where I start judging it as like an amazing pairing. That is a huge success. Just to have like one like that.
Well, it's like in Broadway, they say if you hit 50% of the notes, you do a good job. So there you go.
Right. I usually
think
hit
they
like
say that.
75%, but whatever.
But I will
Well, it's
say,
a percentage.
but like, you know, we went to
That's it.
WD50 in New York before they closed, and like they had, you know, wine. They did a wine pairing and stuff like that. I think they even had. Did they do alcohol too? Or yeah, so they did alcohol, and that one was mind-blowingly good.
Right.
Like everything worked so perfectly, not only on its own, but with the dishes and stuff
Yeah.
like too.
I'm not saying it can't
So,
happen.
yeah,
Yeah, it can happen.
This was
for
who?
sure.
W50?
WD50.
Oh, is
While
it
they do
WD40's older sister?
Yes.
The later experiment.
So what about you, Molly?
Okay, so there are a couple different ways that I think about this because I don't personally really like pairing menus, tasting menus because maybe because of the keto thing, but like I want to order one big entree and just really dig into it and have a bottle of wine with it. And for me, that's much more satisfying than having a bunch of little dishes where like I'm not really into everything. I would never ask someone that's doing a really extensive pairing menu to cater to my food preferences because it's not an allergy, it's not a sensitivity. But I would rather just know exactly what I'm getting, want all of it, and eat the whole thing and listen. Enjoy a wine developing over the course of a meal than have a bunch of teeny tiny splashes of wine that I had to kind of like make sure I finished before we got to the next course. And so the best experiences for me are those like you just get to sit with your dish and you're the person that's at the table with you or the people that are at the table with you, and you're talking about the wine. Like my favorite GIF is Winnie the Pooh at the table with a fork and knife, like putting his little bib on. He's like, because that's me before the ribeye comes to my table. Like the most recent experience I can think of, I was down in the Valle de Guadalupe with a bunch of friends, and I ordered this ribeye at this place called La Esperanza Bahamed. It's on the east side of the Valle. Anyway, so they specialize in meat. Their chef apparently goes hunting like once a year and dry ages a bunch of stuff. And I ordered this ribeye, and it was like a 20-ounce ribeye. And
You can do it.
And the woman was like, well, we've got like, I'm not the biggest fan of a ton of Baja wine because they tend to be really intense red wines with a lot of oak, which is not my style. And she was like, oh, we've got this older Petite Syrah from LA Cheto, and was like, let's do that. And it was really, honestly, one of the best Petite Syrahs I've had in a long time. And I was having this really rich ribeye, and the tannins in the Petite Syrah and the fat and protein in the ribeye balance each other out. And then I was there with a great group of friends who all got to order their own thing and like loved what they ordered, versus this pairing menu where it's like, it doesn't matter how beautiful the food is. If there's something on the menu that's not your favorite thing, then you're not going to be like super stoked about it.
It's not awesome. And I think you're probably like me in a sense that like the whole environment adds to it. Like I've had some of the most amazing wines that, you know, were really expensive or hard to get, but in a very, very austere setting or a very analytical setting, and it wasn't awesome. And then I had like the same wine or wine that's way cheaper or not as the same quality level, quote unquote, and what surrounded the right friends and the right environment, the right food, and it is freaking amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it all adds. It's hard to separate it.
All right, so I have one more question before we do the quickfire question. So this is going to be a pretty easy one, though, I hope. So in your opinions, who do you think, restaurant-wise, in San Diego has the best wine selection?
We're talking restaurant specific, not wine bar, things like that.
Oh, wait, you can do wine bar, too. Yeah.
Whatever in San Diego.
Who has the best wine selection in San Diego?
So the deepest is definitely Addison, but that it's a Bible. It's, you know, you really need, Vicky is the wine director there, and you need someone to hold your hand through that list. And I prefer lists that you can, you know, it's a couple pages, you can go through it, and it's very deliberate.
Too many selections can be a bad thing sometimes.
I get overwhelmed.
Like the cheesecake.
It's a cheesecake factory.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, you guys have to look up, there's this crazy, like, Twitter review of the Cheesecake Factory and like how it's the definition of what's wrong with America. And
I'll table that for later.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my reminder when I watch
Right
the
after
Casey
Casey.
So I guess, well, I don't know. Do you have anything that pops up on the top of your head for restaurants?
Not so much for restaurants. I mean, and we're at so many restaurants and we work with so many of these restaurants. It's hard really to kind of just, you know, pick and choose necessarily. You know, I would say maybe some of my favorite wine bars to go to, Vino Carta in Little Italy is always spectacular. They always have some really fun wines. And I think what makes it great for me is that the people that are there working in the environment and who are guiding you kind of like in an experience is really fantastic. But we have so many great wine shops. We're so fortunate, I think, here in San Diego to have so much in a very small radius. Mm-hmm. Great wine bars, wine shops, really knowledgeable wine people. Our wine community is probably one of the tightest, like, in the nation,
and
honestly.
Yeah, like just near you guys, Clo just opened up like in the pandemic. They're up in University Heights.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Super cute. The owners are lovely people and also very like good at their jobs. And like Vino Carta and Clo and the Rose are very low intervention, natural wine focused.
We didn't even get into that.
Which is a whole...
That's another
podcast.
podcast.
But you know, like they do a good job of curating, and you kind of, you know, if you have to understand that the natural wine is, you know, it's kind of like sour beer, right? Like what's your tolerance for it? Right. And probably talk to the person who's selling you wine about that. Cause I go into these places and I'm like, I like very clean, wine. So please do not sell me anything with sauerkraut in it. But some people like that, like some people like really sour beer, and I don't like really sour beer. So it's it's everyone's personal preference. But then you've got like the old school people like Vintage, who has a lot of like the banger classics of the wine world up in Miramar, and the Third Corners offer some really great value, and
shout out to Village Vino too, because we love them.
Oh yeah, Village Vino's fantastic.
And all of these places have like little food, so they're still in business. So another thing that's affecting a lot of people's wine lists is the closures and opening and closures. So almost every restaurant I know has been severely affected, their wine list in particular, because that's like where you cut the fat.
Right.
So they're not adding new exciting things to their wine list. They're kind of doing the standbys. I will say like Juniper and Ivy has always had a great, pretty diverse selection. The Malarkey restaurants, so Urban Sea and Urban Wood.
Kettner Exchange.
Kettner
if we're in Little Italy.
Exchange.
We're in Little Italy right now.
Shout out to Kettner Exchange.
And then June and Jolie has been doing a lot of fun stuff with their program because they have like 100% tasting menu at their restaurant right now, and so they've been doing really great with their wine pairings.
Cool.
So those are some of my go-tos.
All right.
Yeah.
Quick fire question time. All right.
Oh wait, Billy needs wine.
Oh, Billy has wine. So let's get your glasses filled back up again before we get into this quick fire things. But while we're doing that, before we get into quick fires, Molly and Billy, why don't you give everybody your Instagram handles, if you have anything special coming up, like your business stuff, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
go for it.
So I forgot to mention that I also do a little bit of consulting, and that's related to my Instagram because it's the same handle. So my Instagram handle is Bar We There Yet. And and it's basically just, it's my personal Instagram, so it has some of my own stuff on it, but it's a lot of like travel and experiencing bars and restaurants, and my opinion is all over it, and I'm so happy with that because it's my personal brand is so much in line with my person. So that's me. And then I work for Epic Wines and Spirits, and they have their own Instagram handle. And we sell wine from all over the world. We've got some esoteric stuff from like Lebanon and stuff from Australia, New Zealand, and Germany, and, every country. Well, with the exception of Eastern Europe, I guess.
Right.
I would say, if you're interested in wine and you're interested in learning more, please reach out to Billy and I. There's nothing more flattering than having someone reach out and not in a way that like we're better than you, but that we were there once. Right? And so I want someone to come on this journey with me.
Cool. Yeah. And Billy, what about you?
That was so well said.
You're like, follow me at Billy _ whatever your last name is on Instagram.
So I have a thought Instagram, but that's not what we're talking about.
Is that Billy _ the kid?
Hey, maybe somebody wants to see that thought Instagram.
No, my
Is
wine...
it like an inspirational thought?
Yes, it's thinking poses.
You'll be thinking.
The thinker.
Right.
Let it hang out.
No, my Instagram handle is Billy by the Glass, and it's this stuff like when I travel and go to wine regions and all that fun things.
Nice.
And I think we all do things on the side where we talk about wine with people, or corporate events and whatnot. And it's so much fun. And it's something that I think we do is because we love it so much. We're never going to get rich doing it or anything like that. But it is something that we love to do. So, Billy by the Glass on social media. Young's Market Company. Actually, update. Young's Market Company is merged with a company called RNDC.
It's official.
It is official.
Y'all are getting to like whatever that word is. The release.
You get the industry.
It's fresh off the press.
Yeah.
Isn't that a thing?
That's been a rumor on
Breaking
our side
news.
for a long time.
Right. Unprecedented gays exclusive.
There we go. Thank you. You know what? You're hired for free. We'll give you a free salary.
But anyway, so we've merged with a company out of Texas called RNDC, and it's a really fantastic thing because it just basically expands our distribution network.
And I
if you
love
will.
Young's Market. Like a friend of mine is a in-house mixologist for them too.
Oh,
so,
awesome! Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm really happy. There's a handful of really great companies. Molly's is one of them. Obviously, Epic. I've worked a lot of them with. I worked a lot with Epic when I was in the buying side, when I was still in restaurants, and then now I'm also really proud and happy to support and represent my company.
Nice.
And it's nice to be part of a company that really values diversity and actually really cares about you. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
We've all had different jobs in our lives, and we're like, you've been in the one job, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just a number to somebody in HR. It's like
It's
Soylent
corporate
Green.
America.
Yeah. Grind me up, eat me. Like, who cares? But then there's companies that actually care, and that's really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
I feel
love
the
it.
same way about Epic, and so his company is probably number 2 in the state,
As far as how large we are at distribution.
and mine's 5, and so we're both working for relatively large companies considering how many smaller distributors there are. But and there, like there are pros and cons for everything, but I feel really supported by my entire upper management, and then my team in San Diego is like there are only 4 of us, and we're tight, and they're supportive, and I'm the only woman on the team in San Diego, and like they're all really great men that have been willing to listen to issues that I've brought up about diversity and discrimination, and so and then in addition to just being like it's a good job, it has health insurance.
Yeah.
Very
That's always important.
Yeah.
We're fortunate. We're so fortunate, I think,
Good.
to be where we're at. For so
And
many
we're
reasons.
fortunate to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Hashtag thanks. Thankful.
All right.
Whatever.
So it is time for the quick fire questions. Y'all ready?
Okay, so ready? I'm gonna
More
talk.
wine. Need more wine.
Okay. So, first one. If you were a real housewife, what would your tagline be?
Okay, I'm the worst gay because I don't watch Real Housewives. I don't want to say it. I
Oh,
don't
we
watch Real
don't need to
Housewives.
know
Okay.
what is your tagline?
Like, what would your tagline be? Like, what is your grinder handle? I don't know.
How long is this hashtag?
I'm on top. No, I'm kidding. Like, wait, like what?
Just a sentence.
Fuck.
See, like, mine is, I don't have to get ready because I stay ready.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, what about you, Molly, while he's thinking?
Mine would be bubbles, bubbles, my bubbles.
Okay. From Finding Nemo, I got that.
I did not get that.
That was so cute and well said. Can I skip and come back?
Okay.
I lose a point.
Fine.
I get it.
Rapid fire
Okay.
for a question, for a reason.
All right.
You're fired.
So, which celebrity is your hall pass?
Clive Owen.
Wait, what is it?
Clive Owen?
Oh, okay, Clive Owen. I thought you said 501, and I'm like, who?
Aren't those Levi's?
I say I always have a hall pass.
Okay.
Because, I mean, like, especially in my adult years, hashtag open relationships are like...
Okay.
like what?
That's his hashtag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
there you
there you
go.
go.
There you
Hashtag
go.
open
We found it.
relationship. Yes.
Your
All right.
tagline would be, why keep it closed when you can have it open?
There you go. That's your tagline, girl.
D&D, you're
Yes.
welcome.
Put it on all your profiles.
Right.
That's your new Instagram name.
All right. So this one is, I think, a fun one. So, if you were a wine, how would you be described?
They're like, oh god.
Okay.
Now, Billy, you can't say big and fruity. That's just not.
I mean, why can't I?
Too easy.
Yeah, it is too easy.
He's more underbrushy.
Right. A little sous-bois.
I smell a little from under.
A little sous-bois. Some
Is
potting
that an
soil.
Australian thing? From under down under?
Dark fruits.
Oh, I love that for you.
Yeah. Some spice. I don't know.
So who's
Very,
going
like earthy.
Okay.
Like easy to drink,
Oh,
but sometimes
my.
need food depending. So a moderate amount of tannins. I don't know.
I would say bright, pensive, and fun.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Mic
I
drop, there you go.
I thought I was gonna stump you, but I only stumped Billy.
Oh, no,
You
she-
know.
I'm really
she's
into
getting stumped.
euphemisms. It's like my thing.
Yeah. Molly's not getting stumped. That's not possible.
Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Molly Brooks and Billy Nordmeier, for being on our show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Can I
for
plug
having
one
us.
thing?
Oh, yeah,
Plug an
please.
event. There's an event coming up with Inside Out Restaurant here in Hillcrest. Love going there. I work with them as a sommelier sometimes for their wine clubs, and they are starting this new event series called the Wine Travel Club, because we're all so I don't know, angsty and wanting to travel or do things with our lives because we're so stuck in our houses and our ruts. And this is the way we're going to be able to travel is via wine and food experiences.
Oh.
So starting next Wednesday is our first of the series. It's South America. It's wines and food inspired from South America. So Chef MJ from Inside Out, and I'll be there as a sommelier guiding people through the flights and tastings. So it's going to be tons of fun. It's $65 per person. It's not weekly. It's once a month.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be once a month. They do their wine club, and then this is another event that they're doing. And it may be virtual or not, depending on what's happening in our restaurant world coming up. But it's a really great way to support a local restaurant.
I agree. Yeah.
It should be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, get out there, everybody.
Yes, please.
Or
Go check out
get on
Inside
Zoom.
Out.
Get out. Do something
Get out,
safely
but
to
in,
support.
But stay apart,
but
but
enjoy
outside.
and spend money.
Avoid the underbrush. That's all I'm saying.
Well, thank you guys for being here.
Yes,
and
thank
I
you
hope you guys
so
have a
much.
happy holidays. We
Same
really
to
appreciate you
you.
coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Joe, I hope you have a great week.
I know. I'm glad that we get to see each other
I
next
know.
week. Happy holidays. That's what I'm going to say.
All right, everyone. Have a great week. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Special thanks to Andrew Smith and Nick Stone for producing the show. If you like us, please follow us at tugayspod on Instagram and visit us online at tugayspod.com. You can find us anywhere you can stream podcasts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know topics you'd like to hear. And always remember, stay safe, stay classy, stay sassy, and always stay a little bit trashy. See you next week.